One of the most beautiful findings that you can find on this journey of discovering yourself, but also on this journey of deeply investigating and seeing how this manifested reality actually works is to see how consciousness acts on everyone's behalf and how this is always a unified manifestation. And you can come to notice this as also as these focal points, also as these distinct expressions. Um, Even when your separatist view is still very strongly established, you can actually see that what acts through you at every moment of time is already consciousness. And the more you are on a spiritual path, the more this can become conscious to you, but also the more you become a conscious agent for oneness, for this unified totality, for the universal I. And oftentimes, from inside the mind, from inside this separatist view, you think that you do certain things for yourself, like for your focal point. And that's completely okay. As is also, obviously, you look for your life, you tend to your life, you care for yourself, you become exceptionally caring for your life and all that is in it, and that's also okay. But oftentimes, also just to see this, like you might go to a place and you have this very selfish, actually, this very selfish objective for going to a certain place, and you notice that afterwards, you notice you didn't even go for yourself. You went for others. You went for someone else. That the main objective for you coming wasn't about you. It was about other people. Or you notice how then it becomes more and more harmonized, and it is for everyone, for yourself as well as everyone else in it, which is also just such a beautiful revelation to see this consciously, but also just to see, to start seeing how universal consciousness operates through you, and how it's then not only about you, even as long as you're really identified still with this body mind. This can still dawn on you that how this manifestation is a universal manifestation. How consciousness operates is for everyone in it, and all these kind of revelations can actually already dawn to you even when you have no clue about about you being consciousness, or about your spaciousness, and then coming more experientially actually into knowing what is the one mind, or what is observable from spacious awareness, and to operate within the paradigm of oneness, to operate within knowing that the other is you, is actually already a limb of yoga, is already part of yoga, part of the yamas, which are about you, how you should, the attitudes you should cultivate towards others, already in the knowledge of you being universal consciousness, already in the knowledge that this is not a separatist reality, but a unified totality that is manifested actually, and that you can increasingly also become aware of. But how to operate from this deep understanding that we are one, that there is one, that there is oneness. And in the previous sutta, I talked about what are these yamas, like the list of yamas that Patanjali actually gives. And now in this sutta, he makes you aware that independent of what kind of family or tribe or culture or religion or whatever you are in, independent of the times that we are in, independent of your circumstances, like what kind of circumstances you are personally in, independent, um, without any cessation, you should adhere to these universal attitudes. You should cultivate these attitudes without cessation. And these attitudes, again, they are non-violence, ahimsa. They are satya, to be truthful, to not steal, to start seeing this vessel, this expression as a vessel for consciousness, and to not be so attached to this ephemeral world, to practice detachment. These are the universal attitudes that you should cultivate towards so-called others at any time. And he says, this is Mahavratam, the greatest vow. This is something that you can actually already adhere to, no matter where you are at on your awakening journey. And what it does to start coming from ahimsa, from nonviolence, to start coming from truthfulness, to start coming from not wanting to steal or take away something from someone else, to come from knowing that this expression here is for Brahma, for the divine, for it is here for a certain distinct purpose. To know that you shouldn't get too attached to what appears, and know that it is all ephemeral. It already actually catapults you into this trajectory of oneness. It already catapults you oftentimes into a purification of the patterns that you have. Oftentimes, our patterns that have been conditioned by our societies, by our cultures, by our religions, by our upbringing, by the times we are in, they are not necessarily in accordance to these universal attitudes. They're oftentimes very, very selfish. They're oftentimes a little bit, that you do something that isn't completely truthful, or that isn't completely non-violent, or whatever it is, in order to be successful, or in order to do this or that. And so it already actually purifies. That's why he says, independent of the times you're in, independent of your circumstances, independent of your tribe, what's actually, what the people around you are saying. It also, this is Mahavratam. It is like a deep vow. It means to live from honor. It means to live honorably. Honorably to what? To your understanding that you are universal consciousness. To your understanding that others are you. That there is a shared essence to all of us. And so this is also living in integrity, actually. What does that mean, living in integrity? And you're starting to unhook from a lot of societal ingrained ideas or patterns, or you also start to you start your own leadership in a way. You adhere to certain things independent what others do, independent what others say, independent if others actually reject you, or the opposite, be really like be laudable, or appraise you for what you do. It doesn't matter. And this is also, it unhooks. He says, independent of jati, independent of your family, you know, how oftentimes is our life path so strongly actually influenced by others, or by the perceptions that we think that others think. Like, that's why you should be like this, or you should do it like this, or you should, you know, you fear the opinions of others. And so what is honorable, or what is living with integrity, is really that, is saying, okay, this is dharma. What is the highest dharma? What restores dharma? What is the dharma for the yogi? What is dharma for the yogi? What are we all restoring in this world? Why are so many of you actually here right now? What is it about? What what have has everyone forgotten? Can you also stand up for that? Stand up for that. And no, independent whether you have a big backup from your family, your tradition, your religion, your whatever it is. Sometimes even there is always dust. When people become too enamored with the form, when people become too enamored with certain distinct things, how things are done, when the discipline, and I mean the discipline in the sense of a certain set of rules, becomes more important than the actual knowingness, or the actual truth, or the actual finding. When it becomes more about a set of rules, then this depth of understanding, and the depth of living from this, then we are always in trouble. Then this world is always in trouble. And then it is on each of you to actually stand again for something deeper. The deepest thing that you can stand for, obviously, is consciousness, is the removal of ignorance, is helping people, remove suffering, knowing what is it essentially about, knowing how they can find this again, knowing how to act. So this is how to act and to keep this up for yourself. And the good thing about it is it is always for everyone. You will see how massively it purifies you, purifies your intentionality, purifies where you come from, purifies a whole situation or a whole circumstance if one person can actually speak the truth. It also catapults you, what's where does the deepest form of nonviolence actually stem from? The deepest form of peace, the deepest form of truth, the deepest form of no longer taking from others, no longer using others for your own benefit. Whereas the deepest essence of you being again a vessel for the divine. What is the deepest finding you can have if you live from non-attachment, if you start understanding non-attachment is also the attachment to form. What's the attachment to form essentially? It's the attachment to thought. It's the identification to thought. So this limp, and to keep it up, and to actually also have your distinct, what you stand for. It also catapults you deeper. It is already, all these, they can lead to an inquiry, depending on what is your heart's intentionality. But each one, if you go deep enough, you will also actually inquire into the universal I, into universal consciousness, into the deepest truth, the deepest non-violence, the deepest non-stealing. So they also do something for you, and they do something in the field that you operate. So this can be a vow. There are many traditions have different vows that are very, very relevant, that can serve as a reminder for them, for what makes you get up every day, what is your intentionality, what is your orientation also in life. Hopefully each one of you knows their importance for consciousness and knows their purpose, and the purpose becomes more and more known to you as you go through this life. But hopefully also, as long as you're unsure, there is an orientation. The orientation already actually is also part of the purpose, part of what propels your own journey, and part of also what enables a better society in each moment. What are things that are just outworn in wherever you find yourself to be? What are things that could actually need some injection? And also, remember, like, you have your set things. You think from your cultural context, maybe certain things are not polite. Truth is not polite, for example, or certain truths are not polite. All these ideas can also only stick as long as you are completely identified with it. then this is also something that you can work on as a purification. What am I still holding up? Where a deeper knowing actually would purport something else in this situation, but there's still something that thinks there is a definition on me. There's still something that I feel I'm identified with, and to cut through that, or to illuminate that, and come into deeper intentionality. So that's the sutta that reminds you that these attitudes can be and should be cultivated at all times, throughout time. What what enables a deeper understanding of our shared essence, how to act from a deeper recognition of what everyone else also actually is. Namaste.